Please state your name and affiliation.
My name is Fazelbhoy. I'm the CEO of Synergy Offshore, which is a offshore vessel consulting company in Dubai.
So the tenor of your presentation was that we're treading water rather than drowning.
That's right. I think after the last 5 years or so, we finally come to a point where we are treading water. Fortunately, I think it's with a direction, and thank God it's a positive one.
So the Middle East continues to be a bright spot when it comes to utilisation and charter rates.
Yes, it does. I think one of the big dilemma was that how does one rationalize the extra money that we're putting in, the ADNOCs and the Aramcos, in the oil field production and exploration area, at the same time talk about OPEC production cuts. But fortunately, these national oil companies have the vision to go ahead and explore these assets while the supply boat rates are low, while the supply chain is still quite cost effective, which means they're building up reserves. So even though they're cutting production in terms of the OPEC compliance, fortunately these production controls have not shut down any platforms. So if you have 100 platforms, you want to cut down 25%, you're cutting each of them down slightly. So no PSVs or supply boats are being put out of business because the production platform has actually been shut down. Just the amount of output has been reduced. So the OSV market continues to be occupied and busy.
Now another talking point is Kuwait's the KSA neutral zone. Any thoughts around that?
No, and I think there's been a little bit more harmony that's been created by some of the Arab states in response to what is happening externally and politically. Both with Bahrain as well as with Kuwait, Saudi is taking a very positive role in terms of coming to terms with their partners and increasing production altogether.
And a word or two inevitably about Qatar.
Well, Qatar has been an issue. Obviously, it's unfortunate to have a brotherly Arab state have difficulties with the rest of the family. One hopes that these political differences can be set aside. It's certainly affecting all of us in terms of business, and peace, harmony, and common goods always is effective. And hopefully, we can find a way to reconcile these differences and move forward.
I appreciate we talked mostly about the Middle East today, but what about Eastern Mediterranean potential?
Well, absolutely. There's a lot of stuff happening in Egypt especially. Lebanon is beginning to have some traction as well. As I mentioned earlier in my presentation, Eni seems to be one of the companies that's done extraordinarily well. And that continues to where their activities are. They're active in the Eastern Mediterranean or the overall Mediterranean, and they're proving to be a very aggressive company getting into 2019.
Earlier today, we heard that we're moving to an era of new business models and transformation. Does that echo your view?
Sometimes these solution-type businesses, several big leading OSV companies have talked about it. I tend to believe it's still a little premature. There's nothing wrong with exploring it. I think it's still based on opportunistic one-off situations. Whether that's an ongoing trend, whether you can sell a seat per, a dollar per mile for a seat, I think there's still a ways to go. But every business has to think of a potential new model for tomorrow. And these kind of thoughts are healthy, productive, and hopefully it will lead somewhere.
So if we focus on one aspect of that, the supply chain, how will that evolve to meet the needs of this changing landscape?
Well, I think many oil companies have to look at the whole passenger transfer strategy. And I think where the oil companies come in and where the service providers come in, what always helps is a good positive dialogue. If you can actually have these companies look at a financial model together, even if it means doing an NDA and working on a model together, you look at your system and whether you decide whether it's helicopters you need, whether it's OSVs you need, whether you need fast crew boats. This should be a collaborative discussion. There should be a model that is based on financial good sense, and if it makes sense, you go ahead with it. So if this looking at the supply chain and integrating your services, as was mentioned earlier, upwards, partnering with the oil company is probably the best way forward for everyone concerned.
So to sum up the outlook for 2019, slow rationalisation, slightly easier financing, and better market prospects?
Well, I think the best part of 2019 will be that there's going to be hopefully consistently better utilization. I think the problem has never been demand. It's been consistently oversupplied. That's not going away in a hurry. I think 2019 will be marginally better than 2018 in terms of numbers, but I think in terms of sentiment, which is a hugely important thing, I think it's going to be a turning point and therefore an inflection point.
And finally, you're a frequent attender of this and other OSJ events. We're midway through the first day. What are your impressions?
I'm delighted. It's great to be back. I wasn't here last year, I was here a year before that, but I have been a regular attendee of the Middle East conference, and I like the number of people here. I like the quality of people here. I think the leadership that is demonstrated, that is available here, gives you a tremendous chance to network, talk about good ideas, and it's a great venue.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Edwin.